Check out the Male Advantage paperback, ebook, and audiobook using the links below. Okay guys, I've got a quick lesson for you today. Me and Hamza were talking the other day. I was watching one of his videos and he was talking about in his video, a lot of you guys who follow me follow Hamza, and or a lot of guys who follow Hamza follow me because he's got the bigger following, right? It wouldn't make sense the other way around. But he had a video that kind of spoke about how guys kind of lower their standards. They will go after girls that are trash. Like he said, you go to a nightclub and you just sleep with any girl just because. Like and I went through this same thing when I was young. Like I remember I was going out sleeping with like any hole to goal is the mentality for a lot of young guys. And I just came to a conclusion. I was like, I'm starting to realize through other areas of my life that certain things become habit. Okay, if you get up late, it just becomes a habit. And now that seeps into your mind and you become lazy. And laziness becomes a habit and it seeps into other areas of your life. It has a ripple effect. You know, if you're, like Will Smith always said, I've got a fear of fear itself. Right? And that I believe that is so true to the core, because if somebody says approach that girl and you go, oh no, I don't know, I think she'll reject me, that transfers into other areas of life. You're now telling your brain that it's acceptable to shy away from things that you would rather do, you would want to actually do. You know, I really want to approach that woman. I really want to speak to that person. I really want to ask my boss for a pay rise. I really want to ask advice from this guy in the gym, but your anxiety is crippling and you're like, oh, I can't. Nobody's born with that. I'm sorry, but nobody's born with that, okay? That's a trained habit that's come from learned experiences, understandably, but yourself allowing you to get to that point. Okay, so if I ever have a fear of something, which is very, very rare, but if I do, I go and do it. I have to conquer it. There's a great TEDx Talk video about comfort zones, and the guy said, like once a week or whatever, goes and does something that scares the shit out of him. And one of the things he did, he just went into a real public place and just led on the floor, looked up at the sky. He said at the start, it's like his heart's going, he's panicking. After a while, he was just like, I feel relaxed doing this. Like, I don't feel weird. This is completely normal. People just walking past me. You know, what you thought would happen never unfolds, okay? It's like the definition of insanity is fearing things that haven't happened yet. It's anxiety. That's how most people live, okay? They have that fear of things that haven't happened yet, fear of rejection. Then when it happens, you go, we're just moving on with my life. I'm going to ask that girl out. She said no. Okay? Is what it is, okay? And you just keep moving forward. And it just doesn't bother you. And that really resonated with me when I saw Hamza's video, when it came to women, okay? When he was talking about certain guys will go to a club and they'll just take whatever they can get. They'll see a girl who they know that they know they can do better than, okay? If they were just to put in a bit of work, whether it be gym, whether it be business, whether it be life in general, assets, working on themselves, just all the whole compilation, you know, of male lifestyle in general, as we do every day on First Man and whatnot. That's what all these videos are about, as I have embodied and lived for the last 10 years of my life. And now I'm reaping the rewards, okay, because I put that work in. And I knew when I was young, I was like, I'm sleeping with girls that I believe I can get way better than, and I'm accepting that. I'm accepting that. I'm letting my standards slip for comfort. That's dangerous. Dangerous. It's very similar to how I told you guys before. Somebody goes through a breakup and they regress. They go, a 7 broke up with me, I'm going to find a 6. It didn't work out with the 6. I feel alone. I need comfort. I'm going to, oh, there's a 5 who wants me. She'll do. I just need someone. A lot of guys are doing that in a sex sense. I'll take anything I can get to make myself feel good. Well, that becomes a habit. That ripples into the other areas of your life. You become happy with less. You become happy with lower standards. You're training your brain to accept that, or at least know that there's a possible path of avoidance, which is a disgusting scenario, guys. To know that you can put less work in because there's an easier option than what you really wanted, and it still has a dopamine reward. It still has a good feeling reward. You know, you still get the end result. It's not as good, but it's still the end result that you required. That's dodgy. That will fuck you up in life, okay? Your mentality will be all over the place. My mentality is, if there's certain women that I want, a certain level of woman that I want, and I cannot get it yet, I will go back to the drawing boards and I will not settle until I get it. You know, if there's a certain house that I want to live in, I will not settle and go and live in a different one until I can get it. And what I mean is by buying that house, purchasing that, like actually having it as a feasible place to live in, rather than something that's going to get you to that house, okay? You know, so the place I'm in right now is not ideal, it's not where I want to be, but it's been done for other reasons. It's been done for other motives, to save money, to put all the money into the business so that I can push forward and then get what I want to get. But what a lot of people would do is, what I do have, I'm going to use to get at least something, you know, so that I can tick that box. It's not what I quite wanted. It's slightly lower down, but it makes me feel good. It's where people are with women every single day of their lives. They don't realize it, but like every couple of years, they scale that back. Everybody wants to be with the 10s, the superstars, the models. Before you know where you are, you've regressed it back and you're going with a slightly chubby girl who's drunk, who's tacky, who doesn't take care of her body, who's drunk in a club. Like, to be honest, if you're going to a club to attract women, you're probably in the wrong place anyway, unless it's a high-end club. You know, you want to go to clubs where people don't get drunk. Like, there's different types of clubs, there's different types of bars, whatever. Like, there's pubs where people get paralytic. There's clubs where people get flat-out drunk and they're all 18 years old. Then there's places where it might cost like £50 for entry. You know, you'd rather be there. You'd rather be at a rooftop bar, having one or two casual ones, than going home. You're going to meet higher quality women in those places anyway, okay? But you don't want to settle. Like, if you're in a position right now, guys, which many of you will be, probably most, because that's just what early male life is all about, is not being where you want, and then building on top of that, and that's okay. It's acceptable. I was talking to somebody today who said they had anxiety. I was like, well, how old are you? Well, I'm 21. Yeah, of course you have. That's normal. Get over yourself. Like, it's not a problem. Just move forward in life. Like, oh, what is your anxiety? Well, I'm scared when I have a group of people looking at me. Well, yeah, it's normal. I'm scared when I go into a new room. Well, yeah, again, it's normal. You just need to grow as a person to get over it. Like, it's not condition that needs treating, okay? It's just normality. And struggling early on in male life, it's not condition. You know, it's not a problem. It's not depression. It's normal. Like, every guy does suffer early on. It's not what you expected. Okay, fair enough. So what do? Do you cop out? Do you take a step back? Do you let your standards slip? Do you say, okay, I'm going to lower my standards and I'm going to chase less? Because by chasing less, it's a lot more achievable. It's going to require little effort, and I can reward myself a lot sooner and make myself feel good. Because little Chrissy needs, something good to be praised on. Needs a little pat on the back. No, you say, fuck that. You say, I'm not where I want to be, but I know where I want to be. What do I have to do? What is the bridge between who I am right now and who I want to become? That's how I've described First Man many, many a time. But when you find that out, you then put in the fucking work. So that when you finally get the reward, you go, yeah, I did it. I worked my way up. The women that I'm sleeping with now, that wasn't by accident. The business that I have now, not by accident. The money I'm making, not by accident. The body I have, not by accident. Who I've become as a person along the way is not by accident. I've built my way up. That was all, that was all me. That was who I became. I wasn't willing to accept less. Because like I said, guys, that seeps into your brain, and then it gravitates into all the other areas of life. Okay, it just floods across your brain, and everything that you do then, you're telling yourself is acceptable to go for less. You ever remember the film Moneyball with Brad Pitt and Jonah Hill? They're discussing one of the players, and they're like, yeah, but his wife's like a 4 or something like that. And they were like, what's that got to do with anything? He was like, well, if his wife's a 4, it shows that he has lower standards or something like that. And they talked about it in that sense. Yeah, I would actually go with that. I'd say that's true, because I don't think any guy realistically wants to be with a 4. I don't think you choose a 4. You regress, you fall back into a 4. Okay, so any guy who is with a woman like that, she might have a great personality. People always try and play that cards, but chances are he would want better, okay? There's pretty girls with great personalities too, so don't give me that shit. But any guy with less, like any guy with a shit car that goes, yeah, well, early on in the journey, it's acceptable. But a guy who's like 40 years old with a shit car who's going, yeah, but you don't need a good, like, they're excuses. Like, you don't have to have a Lamborghini or something like that, but he would want something better if he could. Like a lot of people put protection mechanisms in place. You know, they end up with a 4 and they say, yeah, but I tried all the pretty girls when I was young. They got horrible personalities. The problem with them is they expect too much. They put all these defensive walls up because they're trying to convince themselves. It's almost like post-rationalization bias of like, or post-rejection denial bias or something like that. You know, I don't know if that even makes sense, but it's along those lines. Like, you got rejected, you couldn't get what you wanted. Oh, it was shit anyway. Like when guys get rejected by a girl and then they go, fuck you, you're a slag anyway. Like, grow up, man. Like, you want her, you're just doing, it's just a defense mechanism. But then that guy goes, yeah, these pretty girls are bitches regardless, and then they drop back, and they drop back, and they drop back, and they lower their standards. And that is when we come full circle back to Hamza's video of lowering standards of any hole is kind of a goal mentality. Okay, I see this a lot in modern men. It's, you know, like I said, it floods into all the other areas of your life, so watch out. Really watch out, because if you keep settling, you keep regressing, you keep going back, every time you take a hit to the chin, you're going to suffer. It's like being in a fight. Very few men, and I know this about myself because I've experienced it, very few men will get punched in the face and keep moving forward. Okay, like I've been punched in the face and I've stayed in the pocket. I've stayed there. Oh, go on then, I'll hit you now. Like I'm happy, I'm okay with it. My mentality went, fuck yeah, let's do this. I've seen a lot of men get punched and back up. They start walking backwards, they run away, whatever. They didn't like it, they didn't like the hit. So then they avoid fights in the future, or they avoid confrontation. They don't want to argue with people, whatever. Fair enough, that's you, that's your mentality, that's what you want to do. But like I said, that floods into other areas of life. You're now willing to back down from almost anything. You know, you're telling yourself, you're training your brain to say that you're a weaker individual. And this is massive with women. You know, if you get rejected, but you know you want an 8, a 9, or a 10, or at least you want a woman that looks like this, behaves like this, has a job like this, has a personality like this, and you think you deserve it, don't regress because you can't get it yet. Okay, that's just normal. Like, how many people have gone for a job, been rejected, gone away, got qualifications, come back, got the job, and then 2 years later left that job because they thought they were too good for the job? It's just a progression game. It's the exact same thing. If you can't get a woman that's like, let's say your dream girl, you see her every day, she's an 8, and you're like down here, and you ask her out, and she says, like politely, she's like, no, like, sorry, I'm seeing somebody at the moment. You know, that's a polite fuck off. You know, she's obviously a nice girl with a nice personality. That kind of makes you want her more, and you just go, well, I'm just not on her level. She's out of my league. It is what it is, and you settle, and you move back, and you find your level. That's going to ripple into other areas of life. That's not good. You know, any hole's a goal. You just settle for less, but you're not going to be happy, guys. And at the end of the day, that's the biggest fuckery right there, is you're not, deep down, you're not going to be happy because you're going to know the truth. And I always say on this channel, I tell you what you need to hear, not what you, I always get this wrong. I tell you what you need to know, not what you want to hear. And a lot of guys can't face that. I've ended friendships with a lot of guys by telling them what they needed to hear. Am I overweight? Yeah, you are. You look terrible. You need to sort it out. That's what they needed to hear. Okay? They didn't want to know it though. They just didn't want to know that. They were just like, fuck me. Like, that guy's a prick. I hate him. Like, yeah, fair enough, but you know it's the truth deep down. A lot of guys are with a woman that they don't love. They wouldn't be without a choice. They fell back into that relationship. She was there to pick up the pieces. Like, you don't want to become that guy because you're not happy in life. You'll always feel as though you chickened out. You'll always be that frustrated, angry, older man. I could have been somebody if it wasn't. It's your fault. Take self-accountability and do something now where you can. If there's a certain woman you want, build up to it. And the thing is, by the time you get up to the level where she wants you, you won't even want her because you'll want the younger version of her. Like, it's a weird game, okay, guys? But, like, usually what you're chasing isn't what you end up getting. You end up, like, especially with women, you end up, like, chasing something, and there's something better comes along, and you end up taking that, whatever. But the chase is important because it puts you in the position to be able to then have those options, okay? So that's why it's so good to have, like, motivating factors in place, like your dream car, your dream woman, etc. Because when you get there, you probably don't end up getting those things. You probably change along the way, but the work that you were able to put in because of those things motivating you is why you now have the options to choose, etc. and whatnot. But options is everything. That's what you want in life. You want options in all areas. You want to be able to choose. You want to be able to have freedom. You know, nobody wants to admit that they couldn't get the women that they actually wanted. So they settled with a worse woman. Yeah, she'll do. Like, nobody wants to truly admit that. They always say, oh, yeah, but she's got great personality. She's exactly what I needed. We know it's not the truth. Like, all guys know it's not the truth. But very few people will admit it. So you need to get out of your comfort zone, guys. Accept that it's normal to be suffering as a man early on. Hamza's completely right with that belief. Do not settle. Any hole's a goal mentality, because it's so weak. Like I said, it will filter into other areas of your life. It will fuck you up in general. It will make you a worse man because of it. It's not just about women either. There's like so many different areas. But if you want something, just keep working towards it, you know, and don't settle for less. Don't have that cop out. You can't do this will do for now, okay? Unless it's a financial decision. That's the only acceptance I'd give. For example, my camera's 330 quid. It does the job, okay? In the future, I'll buy better ones, but it's just not necessary. But I've got to a point in my life now where I can get the women that I want. But a year ago, I couldn't. So what did I do? I just went without sex. I went without women. I went without dating. I just worked on myself. And now I'm in a position where I can have those things. Well done me. Little tap on the back. Let's go. It's a simple system. It's just so many guys get rejected and they give up. Or they get rejected and they go for less. They settle. And before you know where you are, you've built a mediocre life that's been forced upon you rather than something you've actually chosen. Fuck that, guys. That's not what an outlier male does. I don't like that mentality. That makes me feel sick to think that guys are living like that. That's a horrible existence. That's how you lead to being 40 years old, disgruntled, pissed off at the world, you know, contemplating suicide. That's not a nice existence. Nip it in the bud early on in life when you can still do something about it, okay? And don't settle. Check out the Male Advantage paperback, ebook, and audiobook using the links below.